2018 Ford Explorer rear hub bearing. What you need to do is remove your center cap, loosen up your lug nuts on your wheels, and also you don't have an impact, and you'll need to go through the wheel with a 1 1/4 inch socket and undo the axle nut. Okay, but if you got an impact, then you can use an impact, which is great. But anyway, you want to jack it up, support it, take the wheel off. So now that's where we're at. Put some lube on your axle shaft. Get your 1 1/4 inch socket. Remove your axle nut, and also remove your rotor retainer bolt screw with a T40 Torx. Okay, and you got those two off. Then you want to remove the caliper and the bracket, and that's a 15. There's 2 of them in the back. There's the rotor retainer. If it strips off and you can't get it off, then you have to use a chisel and chisel it the direction it's coming off. Once you see it move, then you can stick your screwed up Torx in there and remove it. And your caliper bracket bolts, 2 15s that go in the back, right about here and there. To get them loose, and you can pull the caliper and the bracket off side to side and take the rotor off. Brace and penetrate around your hub bearing assembly. Let it soak in, and then you'll want to remove the 4 bolts that hold the retainer on, and those are 18s. There's one right here. There's one right here. You can see them right there, and there, and down here. You get them from underneath, from the back side. So you want to take them off. Okay, got all the 4 hub bolts out. So now you should be able to tap it off. On a normal vehicle, you should be able to tap it off. But since this is an aluminum hub, aluminum knuckle and a metal hub, it's not going to come apart. So could have just left these in there until we get the knuckle off. So now we got to take the knuckle off because this is bonded onto there. It won't tap off. So you could have just skipped taking these out until you get the knuckle off. So now we're gonna have to take the knuckle off. Okay, so you want to do the shock, stabilizer link, upper control arm bolt, lower control arm bolt, and tie rod bolt, and a torque arm bolt stabilizer. Okay. And then another thing is, make sure your axle's not frozen inside the hub bearing. This one's not, but if it was, you're going to have to put some tension in there, keep tapping out, and hit it hard. Try not to screw up the threads. If you do screw up the threads, then you have to get a die grinder and clean them up and get your nut started. Okay? Or you can always thread the nut on, just so you got a couple threads sticking on, and hit it with a hammer until it pounds it in a little bit and get it started. And then you can clean the threads up if they're mushroomed, and then use your nut to clean up the threads on the way out. Okay? Okay, you want to remove the stabilizer link. It's a 15mm socket and a 17mm wrench. Next thing I gotta do is the shock. It's an 18mm. But before you take that 18mm bolt out, you need to support your lower control arm. Put a jack stand on it and jack it up a little bit, or a jack. And because if you take this bolt out without supporting it, the whole thing's gonna come down more, and you'll have a heck of a time lining everything up. Okay, I got the nut off. Pulled the bolt out as far as I could get it, kind of under tension a little bit. So I'll need to get some more bolts out. I'll have to take this one off and loosen that one up. But meanwhile, you need to remove the 8mm for the wheel speed sensor, which is right here. You just grab it, twist it, move it around, work it, and it'll come out. You can't twist it too much because it's flat up against the back of the hub. Okay, so push that up the side, some more out of the way. Next, I'm going to take the nut off of this one. There's 18 and 21. Got the nut off of this one also. Pull down as far as I can get it. Next I'll undo the other two, the upper bolt and the lower one, control arms. Okay, I got the nuts off the upper control arm and the lower control arm. And I pulled them out as far as I can pull them. Okay, if they're real tight, I'm gonna put a little bit more tension on your jack stand a little bit. Jack that lower control arm up, put some more tension on the spring. So now you should be able to pull them out, work them out, and then work these out also. Try to keep the bolts in order so you know where they properly go. Okay. Okay, when you got all the bolts out, you can pull the knuckle off, and as you're pulling it off, push your spindle through the hub. Okay. Next, you need to find yourself a pipe. Minimum inner diameter is 6 inches. So your hub can go through there so you can pound it off the knuckle. I'll show you. So you stick the spindle into the pipe, just like that. And then you want to hit right here on the hub bearing. Pound the hub bearing out of the knuckle. You can put another sledge on top and hit the other sledge. So you put a sledge here and you hit the sledge with another sledge. So that way you're not missing and hitting this part where the sensor goes and smashing it. Okay, so you want to put one sledge here and then hit the other sledge with another sledge. Okay? Okay. Put the big sledge on top and then hit the big sledge with another sledge. Pound it right in there. Doesn't damage the dust shield or anything. Alright. Now you gotta do is clean it up where it goes, get all the corrosion off, put some anti-seize on it, and put your new hub bearing in there. There it is. It just fits in there. It's a heavy pipe. Hey, looks good. Okay, clean up the hub surface and inside here. Okay, put some anti-seize on it, and then put your hub on it and bolt it up. Right here on the hub bearing, this is your trigger ring, so make sure it's not damaged. Okay. The hub bearing torque is 98 foot-pounds, so you want to snug them up equally. And then torque them to 98 foot-pounds, okay? Put some anti-seize on your half shaft splines and on your threads. Get your knuckle over here with your bearing. Line that up inside it. And start your bottom control arm bolt. And then you can work from there. Get the top one in. Then you can work on this other tie rod in, and then the track bar. I'll loosen this one up to allow this to drop down because it's in the way of the knuckle, putting it back in. Okay, I got the bottom control arm bolt in. Everything looks good. I got the shaft into the hub. All I need to do is pry down on the upper control arm and line it up with the knuckle and put that bolt in. Okay, I stuck a bar in here, pried it down and then pushed it in there. Push the bolt in there and got my nut on. Do not tighten these up until all the other bolts are in. Take your tie rod in, arm, whatever it is, pry it down, line up the hole and push a bolt in. Okay? You have to push in on the knuckle assembly while you're prying down on this and get it in there. Okay? Put your nut on, but don't tighten it. Next, we're going to use the torque arm. Put that one in there. Get the torque arm bolt in, put your nut on it. Got to line it up and push the knuckle forward. Next we'll do our lower shock bolt. We'll get that one started. Okay, the lower shock bolt is in. And next we're going to jack up the control arm higher to get close to the ride height, like it's on the ground as possible. And then we'll tighten up all of our bolts. Suspension is preloaded best as I can get it. Lower and the jack is loose on it. Reason why you do it this way is because you want everything tightened up at the right height, so it doesn't put excess stress on your control arm bushings. Okay, you want to tighten this one to 90 foot-pounds, this one to 90 foot-pounds, that one to 90 foot-pounds. Your shock absorber, 90 foot-pounds, and you want to tighten your control arm bolts to 120 foot-pounds, upper and lower. Okay. When you're done with that, then you can put your ABS sensor back in, put a little anti-seize on around it, and then stick it back in the hole, and then just snug up your little bolt. Next, you want to pry up your stabilizer bar, so you can put your link in there, and then tighten your 15 millimeter up and hold it with the 17 millimeter. Okay. Now you want to put your rotor on. Put a fine film of NSCs in your hub, put your rotor on, and then put your rotor fastener bolt in. And now you can put your caliper on with your caliper bracket bolts. Okay. Okay, you got your caliper bracket bolts in, snug them up. Those are the ones with the 15 millimeters, and you want to tighten them to 45 foot-pounds. Next, gonna put your axle nuts on and snug it up. And that torque is 175 foot-pounds. So what you want to do is you want to stick a screwdriver in here into the fins, so that way it holds it, and then you can pull down on your torque wrench. Now that you got this torqued at 175 foot-pounds, you're pretty much done. Now all you need to do is raise it up and remove your jack stand or whatever you have holding that control arm up. Alright, now that you got your jack stand out from underneath it, then you put your wheel on, torque them down to 90 foot-pounds, and lower it down on the ground, double check your torque, and make sure you push the brake pedal to the floor to make sure you got a great pedal before you put it in drive or reverse. And that's it. If I helped you out with this video, that's great. And if you could subscribe to me, that'd be awesome. And if you've already been subscribed to me, you are awesome.